na kutku ta wizinsa don nagdani zobdo Fredino this is don nagdani zobdo wakili ya wono kapwasa nande na pigin kolyamba fuber zaza ya fuber zaza ya fuber bunu 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 bara fuber zaza ya fuber zaza ya fuber bunu 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 bara mikael sanwiri amzo Goskone honorable Surgu Nabasara Jibi le père voyager Maman Folane Franck Kane Ouedraogo le prince Congo Aziz la merveille
Et le grand vainqueur est tout simplement monsieur Mamadi.
Lia Baba. Balima Brunazun don nagdani zobdo wakili ya wono kapwasa nande na pigin kolyamba fuber zaza ya fuber zaza ya fuber bunu 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 bala fuber zaza ya fuber zaza ya fuber bunu 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 bala Ali du San Pedro Fanyana baba nonga kongangala ya timnuga kawede baga Yigra ibe
I want to say hello to everybody. Hi to everybody, wheresoever you are. We will be here highlighting on some of our activity tonight. I mean, global activity. The topic will not be just on maybe politics or Africa. No, the topic will be on global issue. Well, this is the problem. So we have so many activities that is ongoing, and we want to make sure we talk about things that will benefit us. I mean, globally, but our direction is focused on Africa most of the time. So what we want to do now is to make sure when we come here, we talk to many issues. Actually, to be frank, we have some problem back home. What are some of the problems we got? We got a lot of challenges back home when it comes to internet. Some of our places that we want to make sure we got people to keep giving us reports and having young people on the show to keep them on is very difficult. So we got big gap between us. And those gaps cannot just be filled. I mean, a lot of work to do. And while some of the requirement for those things, for those gaps, money. You have to get money so that those people can be sustained in order to carry on these duties, those work that we want them to do. And I'll be frank, what I want to do, I don't want to talk much about Liberia politics today because we have a lot of work to do back home if we want to be in the middle of politics in Liberia. And when I say we, you know what I mean. So we don't want to talk about that too much. So, but what I want to do tonight, I'll be taking us global. I mean, the trending issue right now, what is happening around the world, the war, those shortages that are coming very fast, that will deplete our very accounts, that will cause a lot of expenses on us. These are the global issue I'm talking about that I want to talk on a little bit, but we will leave it with those that can better explain more than us. So I might not want to go into too many details, but those same video that we see on internet, some of those high-ranking men that on internet, some of those former representatives, former ambassadors that keep talking to us on internet, we will have some of them here to explain, like the other day what I did. They explain to us, to tell us what we should expect before it happens. So let me give you a little bit of music, and then I will be coming to Conor Douglas. Today, Conor Douglas will have a little conversation with us, and then after that, we will switch it to another one. So, but before then, let me give you a bit of music so that we can start from there, okay? But listen to the music, I'll be and then we start from there.
Sanyana baba nonga kongangala ya timnuga kawede baga yigra ibego kola tun sudako amponom kurugandini ngoroko repase misa nimbutele sanzuga mbane sanzaga ar kola kyoro la bola kafe pia trwede la kokode sans solo falla wordo la kera datam bange tiktok sayede fubere zaza ya fubere zaza ya fubere bunum bala fubere zaza ya fubere zaza ya fubere bunum bala au base la soie damnya mune rouge hablo manaja
I will have Conor Douglas here to explain to us. So what actually the main focus point here tonight, our main focal point, like I said, our main focal points will be on the Middle East. What is actually happening now? So are we winning something that will benefit every one of us? This war that Israel and the United States have opened in the Strip and the Middle East, how are we going to get out of this? It's going to be economic disaster. So we come here to bring some of those people that know exactly what's going to happen. That is why I am here with Colonel Douglas. So I want you to listen up to a few minutes of his time to explain to us what really is happening here that we all need to be concerned about. There you go.
Well, we'll talk about the Iran war. Turns out, actually, we're in pretty good shape there. And we'll start off with the most important financially aspect of this, which is Strait of Hormuz, and along with all the oil and gas products that go along with it. Good news, Doug. We're in control.
Iran doesn't control the strait. We control the strait.
Mr. President, are we right that the no merchant ships are getting through right now, maybe 3 or 4 a day when you need about 100?
The only ones that get through are the ones that we want to get through. They're the only ships that get through, Brian. We have a blockade that's so powerful that nobody can get through.
Nobody can get through. Now, Brian Kilmeade, Doug, in front of the Rare Times, actually tried to push back a little. It turns out he was much more right than we think.
So that was the voice of our president. So now he's saying the whole Strait of Hormuz, the United States forces is the one that controlling that place. But reality, that is not true. So what you need to listen to the colonel. The colonel will tell you more about it. So the president, we don't know where really he's getting his story from, but
when Trump's saying that we're in control of the Strait of Hormuz and we're in good shape, this is from the last few days. This is important, not just in the numbers, but where they're passing. We've had information from Kepler and a number of other places to say fewer than 10 ships have passed through the strait since Sunday. 25 had just 3 vessels, the 25 July, and then the 3 days, 22 through 24 July, 3 vessels per day. But here's the important part. The southern corridor, the one that the United States set up outside of the memorandum of understanding that was not included in that, according to analysts from Windward and Kepler, commercial shipping along the southern route, despite being escorted by U.S. military, has effectively ground to a halt. The northern corridor, a handful of vessels still navigating the straits, are mostly utilizing the Iranian shipping lanes. So there's not a whole lot going even then, but President Trump said ours is like this blockade, but some is going out there and nothing is coming out on our side. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know what to make of it, except that President Trump is not in the business of telling people the truth about events in the Middle East or anywhere else right now. Remember, this is the quintessential salesman. So everything he's connected to is a tremendous success. Everything he talks about is always a winning hand, and so forth and so on. The problem is that the rest of the world knows the truth. We don't control the Strait of Hormuz. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. And for him, that's a very difficult thing to admit, because that means that we have lost our control and influence over the global energy complex. We just don't control it anymore. It by definition, and if you look at what I'm sure you're going to bring up in a few moments, the destruction meted out to the Saudis and others in the Gulf in terms of oil infrastructure and refining, becomes very clear that Iran has absolute control. And we are in an unfortunate position of not being able to do anything about it. So I understand he doesn't want to admit that. But unfortunately, that's true. And that leads to the discussion of what will be openly discussed in this meeting in Washington with Netanyahu.
And, you know, even before we get on that, I want to go down a point you just mentioned there. And this gets back into something we've talked about before, but there's a new manifestation of it, that the oil price has gone down significantly here since the oil trading opened back up Monday morning. And that's odd, because the news out today, you mentioned Saudi Arabia, they admitted that because of some of the Houthi damage, missile damage to their their Yanbu and several other oil reprocessing centers had taken about 4 million barrels a day, at least temporarily, offline. And yet the price of oil went down, which by any other normal time, that would have caused a spike, because that means more oil is not going to get out. Whether there's the Bab el Mandab is open or closed, if you can't refine it, you can't get anything out. What do you make of those two opposite indicators?
Well, we also, another exercise in shorting oil. So friends of Trump that are on Wall Street, and many of these people are part of the larger Zionist billionaire club, have all made lots of money as a result of his ability to manipulate the market. I think we're reaching an end of that. It's going to end. It's going to end very abruptly and badly. But right now, they're willing to play along on the assumption that somehow or another we're going to win, that we will walk away victorious. Because if you go to Wall Street, you talk to the people that work there, they say, oh, well, you know, taking care of the Strait of Hormuz, that's a job for the Navy and the Marines. That's a non-issue. That's all going to work out. But there's no evidence for that, but that's what they believe. That's what they believe because that's what Washington is telling them. And these are traders. These are people who are trading in commodities, making lots of money. These are not people that wore hard hats on a drilling rig. These are not people that have ever seen the oil fields up close and personally in the Persian Gulf or anywhere else. This is a common problem in New York City. People sit behind a desk. They're in Wall Street. They're looking at data and statistics. Those things are easily manipulated.
So you need to really listen to what is happening. Conor Douglas is here, one of our former Conor Douglas. He explained it exactly because they've been in the game for so long. So they know exactly where the turning point is. So they kind of like on internet informing people what is to come. Being that we can talk about it a lot, but what is to come? So when they come here, they tell us exactly what we should expect. I'm not saying they are 100%, but what are some of the lies they are telling you from the reality? So being that they've been in a system for a long time, they will come here to tell you exactly what some of the things we should expect. Like I say, it may not be 100%, but because some of you have been blind with politics already, you believe all the lie from politicians. So because of that, even when the politicians are lying to you, you believe it. You don't know the reality from your politicians. Everything they told you is true. So that is why you have to have second thought. If you listen to your own politicians, you have to listen to another person from outside. And you do comparison. That is why I'm here to tell you. So Conor Douglas explained to you how the Middle East crisis. I've been following them a long time, but because we cannot explain this better than them, that is why I have decided to start screening them so we can listen, but also not cause trouble for ourselves. Because nobody will stop me from doing this. But then exactly I know what I'm doing. Okay? So listen.
But it's not going to last much longer. And I think that's the real message. You know, nothing is leaving the Gulf that Iran doesn't want to get out. And when you look at the oil that's leaving, it's Iranian and it's headed largely to China.
That's exactly right. And just to put a finer point on that, this is more than I thought. This is the current live price here, $78.60, down another $3.95 or 4.7%. And you can see that. I mean, this is after the Saudi Arabia announced today that they had all those millions of barrels offline while they're going to try and repair that stuff. And it just should never happen here. And that just seems to imply that somebody is definitely pulling some financial strings here, because otherwise that just doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, there are two other myths that we need to explode. One is that that's the real price. The price of oil coming off ship that docks with a full load is $140 a barrel, right? That's the paper price. That's Wall Street's perception. So that's number one. Number two, there are no new oil pipelines being installed. no new oil infrastructure. I hear people saying, "Oh, we're already building ways to get around all this, and new pipelines are popping up." No, they're not. No one is investing in the region. No one will put a dime into the region until the war stops. Come on, wake up, smell the coffee. What's the point of trying to put a parallel oil line in anywhere when you know the Iranians will discover it and they can destroy it in a few seconds? What's the point? So there's nothing good happening at all. So when the truth really strikes home, and it's going to in the near future, imagine the shock when you're looking at $150 a barrel or higher. Because if you listen to Jeff Curry and other people who are familiar, Pilkington's another one, these people have been in the oil business, trading business forever. They know what's happening. They know where we're headed. It's not where we're looking at that chart right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if you could, I want to go down that path that you just mentioned here, because last week we showed on one of our programs that Jesse Waters was bragging about how President Trump had gotten the prime minister of Iraq to have all this oil infrastructure and investment by the United States into Iraq. They were going to build this pipeline that was going to bypass the Strait of Hormuz. There's some other pipelines. And so we're going to take all the leverage away from Iran. But I wonder if you could just talk militarily, given the capabilities that we know Iran has with all these short, medium, and long-range missiles scattered throughout their country. Even if you make pipelines, unless they're all totally underground and there's nothing above ground, it seems to me that the refineries aren't going anywhere. And whether there's a pipeline or a ship, you can still take that stuff out with the same ease. Is that not correct?
Oh, no, that's true. But let's stop and pause the statement for a second. This is Iraq. Iraq is Iran's ally. Wake up. The Iraqi government, how many times has the parliament in Iraq voted us out of Iraq? How many times have we been directed to leave the place and take our forces with them? You know, the Iraqi militias that we talk about all the time that have attacked us and others on several occasions, they're all poised to march in and seize control of Kuwait. I mean, what does he think he's talking to? I mean, this is just complete and utter nonsense. The Iraqis are not going to do anything in any way, shape, or form that could hurt Iran. Iran is their eternal ally at this point. So I don't know what he's talking about. Everybody in D.C. is inside a bubble. And I think everybody's smoking crack cocaine. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, I guess it makes sense in terms of finances, because you can make a deal all day long if you want to. And if it benefits Iran, or Iraq, that's fine, but that's not going to change the internal dynamics that you talked about that we ushered in with the removal of Saddam Hussein all those years ago with the 2003 war. But I digress. Let's stick with the one we got here, though, because we have those issues at play right now. The Strait of Hormuz is in control of the Iranian side, and there's nothing we have been able to do to stop it. Not the 40 days, not the blockade, not the MOU, and then not this 13-day attempt, a mini offensive that we tried. That didn't make any change either. Now then, there's been 3 or 4 days now we haven't struck, and I think we're trying to figure out what to do. Well, one thing that a lot of people want to do is that let's go back and finish the job. So all kinds of people have been saying that and begging Trump. I showed one over the weekend, Sid Rosenberg on Fox News, literally begging Trump to go in all out, to include a ground formation, invade the country. It's shocking to do that. Well, President Trump this morning addressed that possibility.
I could knock out the power plants. Within one day, all of their power plants would be gone. And I let them know that, with negotiations. I said, look, people want me to do that.
Let me pause that a bit. Did you just listen to that? Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh. So, all of the media, the Fox, the CNN, the BBC, the Sky News, and CNBC, they all just lie. They don't tell you the truth. You don't want to listen to the Western media. They are liars. They don't tell you exactly what is happening, man. They don't tell you what is happening though. So here you listen to different news, and on the other end, when these veterans go in and out to get more information for us to listen to, and you want to listen to them though. You really want to listen to them because those guys from those media organizations, they are all being paid to lie to you and myself. And what can we do about it? Nothing. The only advantage you have is to go on the independent media institution to listen to different group of people to balance your cases. But if you only want to stay on the Western media, I'm sorry for you. Listen, don't take this to be a joke, okay? Don't joke with
I think
this.
I get almost the same thing out of it as doing it, but the problem is they'll never be able to, you know, I think about 91 million people without power, without bridges, would have to live.
This is Fox.
And it's a very, very delicate balance.
Yeah.
So I think we have a very strong position right now. They know I'm going to do that if they don't make a deal. The bridges are going to be gone. I would say in 2 hours, most of the bridges, the major bridges, will all be gone. And the power plants in 1 day. You know, if I can avoid doing that, I'd like to.
Yeah, he could. I mean, we have the wherewithal, we have the missiles and everything else that can do that. But the Iranian side has already said it's an eye for an eye. If you do that, we're going to hit all the infrastructure there too. Do you think President Trump is not aware of that, doesn't believe it, or is all of this just posturing and he's not going to do it?
This is the man who said, "Oh, you know, this war may be over in 3 or 4 days. The Iranian regime, you know, may just implode quickly. If it doesn't, what are we talking about? 2 weeks, 3 weeks? They can't stand up to us. You know, I'm going to make a civilization disappear overnight. I mean, come on, why listen to anything the man says? Right? The man is going to do what Netanyahu wants him to do. Let's be frank. That's where we're headed. What does Netanyahu want? He wants the war to continue. So he is joined at the hip with Netanyahu. They are part of the same cabal. What does Zelensky want? He wants the war to continue. For it to continue, he needs more missiles, more drones that he can hurl at the Russians. Now, let's get real and look at what is and is not possible. Iran's goal in the war, number one, was to survive. They're not deluded or harbored any illusions about their real power and influence. They understood that the best they could do was to defend themselves. Dan, they've done that. They've proven that they have survived. They realize that they've won. That was the point of the MOU that Trump signed and then walked away from, unsurprisingly, because it effectively said, okay, you get what you want, you won, we'll go along with it, we'll tolerate it because it's in the interest of the global economy. Well, that went away. He can't tolerate that. Now, what's goal number two for the Iranians? They need to finish the job. And what does that mean to them? That means that you've got to remove the United States from the region. How do you do that? You smash all the bases beyond repair. You make it patently obvious that any attempt to come back into that region and reestablish yourself on the ground is an impossibility. We are not fighting the war we were fighting just a few weeks ago. Donald Trump is fighting a rear guard action to try and preserve what little is left of our military, political, and economic power and dominance. And there's not that much left anymore. His attack on Iran was an acid test for our military power, our strength. We could have avoided it. We didn't need to do it. It was not required. But Netanyahu and his agents in the United States insisted upon it. Trump owes them whatever. And so he's done it. They're back and they're going to tell him the only way this war ends is with the complete and utter destruction of Iran. I would turn that around and warn everyone that if he indeed does proceed, it's not the end of Iran. It'll finish us in the Gulf. That's absolutely certain, but it will be the end of Israel. And I think that privately, Netanyahu is worried about that, but he doesn't know what else to do. And the simple truth is the same for Ukraine. Either we give them more to sustain them for another month or two, or they too will go out of existence. And if we give them something to sustain them for another month or two, half of which will be stolen and end up in private bank accounts, they too will be destroyed. The handwriting, as we say, is on the wall. Ukraine is destroyed. That nation is finished. And oh, by the way, Iran is victorious, and a new order is going to emerge in the Middle East. And I would tell you that over the next few months, it will be obvious that that new order consists of 4 powerful states: Russia, China, Iran, and Turkey. I predict that Turkey will finally get off the bench and demonstrate that it is part of that axis. And that is the end of us and the finish of Israel in the region.
Oh,
Well, that certainly may well be the case, and we'll see how things play out. What seems to propel that forward is if we make some foolish decisions here coming up. I want to point out, Gary was showing you those images from just a few minutes ago, I think, in the White House, where they're meeting between the two delegations is going on. I want to remind everybody that prior to the start of this war, Benjamin Netanyahu came to Washington, and he had some intelligence that said he found out that the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was going to be in a certain location on a certain day, and that President Trump had to act then. That's when he had to strike. Now then, we have, prior to Benjamin Netanyahu getting here, another piece of secret intelligence that Iran is about ready to start a new nuclear weapons program at Pickaxe Mountain, and he's basically going to suggest President Trump strike that. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that makes perfect sense. That is totally in line with everything that we've been discussing. This is the last desperate attempt to keep the war. Now, I don't know what is inside or under Pickaxe Mountain. I don't know what the intelligence services say. I don't think it matters. I mean, our intelligence services have reported pretty consistently over the last several years there was no evidence for a nuclear bomb being developed by Iran for use against anybody. Well, they can say anything they want, and that's what's going to happen. Again, the point is, this is it. Trump has got a real problem because we are not simply low in missiles and precision guided munitions and so forth, whether it's Tomahawks or JASSMs or any number of these exotic weapons. We're going to scrape the bottom of the barrel. And by the way, the oil situation is not good. What Wall Street believes and what is real are completely distinct from each other. The real world is going to come down on us very hard in the very near future. And that's going to have an impact on the bond market that we've discussed in the past, which Goodluck and Groman and a host of other people, Ray Dalio, have all pointed to and said, you know, Armageddon is on the way. Nassim Taleb has said it before anybody. It's coming. It's inevitable now because Trump is running what's left of us in the ground. He's doing it because he understands he's fighting a rear guard action. We have lost in Iran. We have lost in Ukraine. When I say we, I'm talking about the United States, because we put the full faith and credit and power of the United States behind these very stupid, unnecessary wars. All of our allies are on the skids. Everybody's going broke. Nobody has any money. There will be no great mobilization of Europe against Russia. But what's happened in the meantime? China, which has profited enormously from our stupidity, is the rising power in the world. It is de facto the greatest economy in the world today. In terms of purchasing parity, absolutely, without question. So then we turn away from China, we look at Russia. Russia is in superb condition because the Russians have husbanded their resources. They have moved cautiously and deliberately, although I think that's about to change. And I guess we'll talk about that in a minute. But then you also have to look at Iran. Iran was supposed to have gone under several times. Its population was supposed to have starved and died and begged for mercy several times. The Iranians are not interested in talking to us anymore. No one is calling Trump and asking for talks. He's desperate for them. they're not going to happen. There is only one way out for Donald Trump and Iran, and that is for us to pack up our things and steal away into the night, to disappear quietly. If we don't do that, it will get worse for us. The rest of the global energy structure will be at high risk, much of it in the Gulf region destroyed, not just for a year or two, not for 3 or 4 years, for a decade or more. And when we leave, it's very obvious what happens. The only power in the world with the wealth, the expertise, and the power to come in there and change anything, make anything right, rebuild anything is China. And the Turks are watching it. They're seeing who is winning and who is losing. It's only a matter of time. They want to be on the winning team, and they will join. And that'll be the end of it. And this thing we call Israel, which is a product of the Sykes-Picot Agreement, will be on the skids. They'll have a choice put to them. Either you live within the broader regional framework that we define on our terms, or you go away.
Yeah, and of course, with their 200 nuclear weapons, I think that they can either just burn the whole thing down, or they'll fall into line there. But that's going to be an ugly situation, which I think we're headed toward. I don't disagree with your assessments there.
Large numbers of Israelis are buying up as much of Cyprus as they can. They're moving to Greece. They're moving into Serbia. They're moving into a number of different places, Argentina, obviously. So that tells you something about the faith of the Israelis in their own future.
Yeah, and the one wonders if that's ever going to get through to Netanyahu in time. Before we skip moving on that topic, because I do want to go to the Russia-Ukraine portion of that, because they are directly linked. We showed you the meeting there with Netanyahu that was happening. One of the other things that I'd like your view on here, however that comes out, and I think we have a pretty good idea how it's going to come out, that meeting, probably going to be something bad for us. But what really irks me, just as an American, is this statement here by Smotrich, Bezalel Smotrich. This was in actually the military.com this morning. Israeli minister says U.S.-Iran war is best for us without Israeli involvement. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said that plainly what other Israeli leaders have communicated more cautiously, the current U.S. war benefits Israel most when American forces do the fighting and Israel remains outside the direct exchange. This just drives crazy, Doug, because we just talked about how Israel prompted President Trump to forget about America first and go Israel only and start this war. And then he allowed Israel to stay out of it and let our people.
So this whole war, I think you have listened. You have listened a lot from the Colonel and his host. So what I actually understand here, and I want you to understand as well, because this whole war is not about making anything better for you and myself. This is a political war that was designed to just please those politicians and their agendas. A lot of horrible things that is happening, and you listen to the Colonel and what he's talking about. America is not winning any war. Israel will be in big trouble, all that. So this is very, very serious. And, you know, the alliance with, no alliance, let's say, Putin of Russia and Iran, North Korea, we're talking about China. And according to him, he believed Turkey will end up going at, turning over one day to those guys. So, what do we want? What do you guys think? I think there will be no peace, man. There will be no peace. We don't know when the whole thing will start collapsing, but believe me, peace is far, far away if things continue like this. what we are looking at right now, because I think it should be one of the very, very hard challenges after so many decades of years that a country has challenged the United States to not take their power away. And they are saying they will defend themselves. And they're not giving up. So we are really in big trouble if President Trump is not backing up and just take a win and come back home and bring the young soldiers home and forget about this nonsense and senseless war. Iran is said already they don't do nuclear weapons. They are not creating nuclear weapons. But what is it about? Now the Strait of Hormuz was open before the war, and now it's closed. And now the guys are saying we cannot give the place out. They cannot open the strait anymore. Free, and more especially right now, they are even talking about those that are connected, have businesses with certain group of people, they're not going to use that strait. So where are we? We are in big trouble, man. We are in big trouble. So I'll get to it. Listen to the corner again. We'll try to end that and get into
We'll pay the price in blood. Let our population pay the physical cost from this with our tax money and or borrowing and everything else. How can President Trump let this continue on, to let them stay on the sidelines and only allow our people to pay the price for a war we don't need?
Well, you will remember we were in Saudi Arabia in 1990 and 1991, that the Saudi government, its spokespersons, its ruling elites, openly referred to the United States Army on the ground in Saudi Arabia as their white slave army that had been purchased and equipped to defend Arabia. And that's why they were there. And that when they'd done their job, they would leave because, of course, Arabia is wholly Islamic territory. Now you're hearing effectively the same thing from the Israelis. And I think he's telling you the truth. There's been an effort to create the illusion that what we do and what the Israelis do militarily in the region are disconnected, that one is disengaged from the other. Well, if that were true, there would be no reason for the meeting in Washington right now involving Mr. Netanyahu with President Trump. People aren't stupid. People in the region know that. And it's interesting that the arrogance has reached the level that it has. I think this is a level of Israeli Zionist arrogance that perhaps we've only seldom seen, certainly not since 45 on this scale. And he's telling you the truth. And he expects this to happen. And President Trump is obedient. And given the fact that he is evidently under duress, he will comply.
Oh, that's I want to argue with you, but I can't. I mean, when we see that in the midst of all this, we or at least they're still in the process. The House already voted on this, tying the U.S. military together. Apparently, the Senate is soon to vote on the NDAA. It's going to tie the intelligence to it as well. It just doesn't make any national sense at all, and yet it just continues on, even with all this information out there.
If in 1939 the United States Congress had voted on similar legislation that linked us to Great Britain, there would have been open rebellion in the United States. Americans would have been in the streets. Americans were violently opposed to the Second World War. Too many of them had been involved in the First World War, which in retrospect they decided was a complete waste of time. Should never have happened. We fought the wrong people in the wrong place for the wrong reason.
There you go. So we will be looking at something else for you. And then I don't want you to go far from here. We still got maybe a few more minutes. What just happened right now, I want to give you maybe 20 minutes or 25-minute programs by one of our independent journalists to give you another update, because like I said, this is just global update. I will bring one of our independent journalists to have a little conversation with us about the Strait of Hormuz and what is happening right now. So we will bring Janta, one of our independent journalists. You will love it. He's very good at his reporting, and I would like to bring him so that we can listen to him as well. Everybody trying our best to do what we can do in making sure, but this is just 1 hour recent news, not too far. So I will bring him so we can have a conversation about his report. I want you to listen to all the lies that our medias are telling us. Nothing is true. Nothing. Because that's the only way they're going to maintain their media organization, because they're being paid by a lot of lobbyists. They pay them to lie to you and myself. So
time dealt a surprisingly heavy blow to the deranged occupant of the White House, even as he was busy lying about holding diplomatic talks with the Islamic Republic. Last night, Iran launched an unprovoked attack on a US military base in Jordan, triggering a significant shift in the ongoing conflict. Israeli slave Trump, who was busy welcoming his terrorist master Benjamin Netanyahu last night, has vowed to hit Iran hard. Iran has also attacked 3 commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz for violating the blockade imposed by Tehran. The Pakistani security forces have massacred 30 people in Rawalakot in the Mirpur division of Pakistan-administered Kashmir. The future of FIFA is in danger after UEFA threatens to teach corrupt Infantino a lesson. This will be the broad focus of my video tonight. Also in this video, an Iranian Lego film warning the people of America about the visit of dreaded war criminal Netanyahu. So please stay tuned. Iran has, for the first time in this conflict, gone on the offensive by launching a brutal military strike on a key American base in Jordan. Mind you, the Iranian attack came just when Trump was desperately trying to tell his American constituents that he was holding talks with the Islamic Republic to secure a peace deal. He had also said that Iran was begging for a deal. No one, not even Trump's favorite TV channel, Fox News, believed this story.
War in Iran. I know you're going to be talking about that today with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and you're going to be. We hear that you're talking right now with leaders on Iran, but Iran has come out publicly and said we're not talking to the U.S. We're going to pause
they just
as
came
long
out
as
and
they're
said
paused.
we are talking a little while ago because.
So could you tell me who you're talking to, Mr. President?
For some reason, we can be in the midst of a beautiful discussion, and they'll come out and say, we're not talking, or we didn't discuss nuclear. Well,
and the final proof of his lies soon came in the form of brutal Iranian ballistic missile attack on a key US military base in Jordan. This is the same military base that saw at least 4 American soldiers killed in the last couple of weeks.
We have some breaking news for you. It is Iranian state media saying that a number of missiles have been launched from the center of the country toward Jordan. Jordanian sources say explosions have been seen in the skies over the country. Now, don't forget, on the 17th of July, 3 U.S. military personnel were killed at the Salti Air Base in Jordan. We have more on this story, but at the moment we have the U.S. military saying that at 5:45 p.m., Eastern Time. That is, of course, about 45 minutes ago, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces launched multiple ballistic missiles from Iran. The IRGC really at the moment for launching these missiles from central Iran. And this is all coming at the moment from the US military, at least. That's what we have so far. US forces remain vigilant and at a high state of readiness as well. They've also said that all these missiles were indeed intercepted. All Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted, according to the US military. All of this, of course, as we do have this hiatus at the moment between the US and Iran in terms of open conflict, at least, but we have several ballistic missiles reportedly being fired at US bases in Jordan, and air defenses were activated, and all missiles, all Iranian missiles, were successfully intercepted, according to the US military, at least.
It took quite a long time for the US military's Central Command to confirm the news of this audacious attack by the Iranian armed forces.
Surprise attack by Iran on U.S. forces. CENTCOM posting this. A 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time today, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces launched multiple ballistic missiles from Iran in an attempted surprise attack on U.S. forces based in the Middle East. All Iranian missiles were successfully intercepted. U.S. forces remain vigilant and at a high state of readiness.
Whichever way you look at it, this was quite an escalation by Iran. Mind you, up until now, Iran has only retaliated against the military transgressions by its enemies, such as Israel or the US. This is the first time the Islamic Republic has taken a lead and decided to attack its enemy.
Wow.
This shows two things. First, Iran feels emboldened, and it knows it's winning the war against the US. And second, the news of weapons shortage in the US military is far more serious than what we anticipated. This is not good news for the world's so-called most powerful army.
So, Farnaz, Trump is saying that, amidst all of this, Iran just really wants a deal. But now the U.S. is putting out this comment about a surprise attack by Iran, which is just worth emphasizing the wording, because when you're in the middle of a war and there's back and forth going on constantly, what defines a surprise, one thing being a surprise and another not being? What do you think is happening in Iran right now? Who is directing the response?
Mm-hmm. Well, Erin, all along we've seen sort of the leadership of Iran and the Revolutionary Guards, which are really leading the charge, sort of, having divisions festering and playing out very publicly over whether or not Iran should concede to the United States, whether it should reach some sort of a ceasefire deal in this last round of attacks, and give up control of the Strait of Hormuz. And we've seen them turn down a ceasefire proposal by President Trump that Iraq took to Iran last week. The Omanis were just there trying to find some sort of a mutual agreeable agreement over how to manage the Strait of Hormuz. But Iran is now demonstrating that at least the hardliners within the regime that are very entrenched and are doubling down and saying it's our way or the highway are gaining the upper ground, because not only are they turning down ceasefire proposals, but they're also suddenly launching this attack on Jordan. And I have to say that even as an Iran watcher, I was a bit surprised. While it is true that the US and Iran are at war, since Saturday night, the US had paused its airstrikes on Iran. And up until now, Iran's attacks on US bases were retaliation for American attacks or Israeli attacks. And tonight, they're sort of, attacking before being attacked. And it's a provocative move.
So, General Hodges, when you hear Trump say, we control the strait, and I could take out most of their bridges in less than an hour, right? Those are both quotes. What do you think about the commander-in-chief's, how he's handling it and his understanding, frankly, of the reality of the war?
Well, obviously what he's saying is disconnected from the reality of what's happening in the strait. And Senator Justice is correct. For the president to talk about destroying civilian infrastructure, now you're putting pressure on the military, who would have to carry out what would likely be an illegal order. So I don't know who he listens to. I think he probably does not get a lot of candid analysis from the Secretary of Defense. I'm sure that if you were to put Admiral Cooper, the commander of U.S. Central Command, standing next to the president and ask him who controls the strait, of course, he would not say it was the United States. I mean, the control of the strait is determined basically by ships' captains and insurance companies if they're willing to send their cargo-laden ships through the strait or not. Right now, obviously, most of them are not.
Colonel Douglas McGregor feels that the current humiliation for the US is largely due to the fact that Trump has been blindly following the orders of Netanyahu, a war criminal who should be languishing in jail and not being welcomed at the White House.
Right, the man is going to do what Netanyahu wants him to do. Let's be frank, that's where we're headed. What does Netanyahu want? He wants the war to continue. Zelensky is joined at the hip with Netanyahu. They are part of the same cabal. What does Zelensky want? He wants the war to continue. For it to continue, he needs more missiles, more drones that he can hurl at the Russians. Now, let's get real and look at what is and is not possible. Iran's goal in the war, number one, was to survive. They're not deluded. They never harbored any illusions about their real power and influence. They understood that the best they could do was to defend themselves. Dan, they've done that. They've proven that they have survived. They realize that they've won. That was the point of the MOU that Trump signed and then walked away from, unsurprisingly, because it effectively said, okay, you get what you want, you won, we'll go along with it, we'll tolerate it because it's in the interest of the global economy. Well, that went away. He can't tolerate that. Now, what's goal number two for the Iranians? They need to finish the job. And what does that mean to them? That means that you've got to remove the United States from the region. How do you do that? You smash all the bases beyond repair. You make it patently obvious that any attempt to come back into that region and reestablish yourself on the ground is an impossibility. We are not fighting the war we were fighting just a few weeks ago. Donald Trump is fighting a rear guard action to try and preserve what little is left of our military, political, and economic power and dominance. And there's not that much left anymore.
Oh, wow.
His attack on Iran was an acid test for our military power, our strength. We could have avoided it. We didn't need to do it. It was not required. But Netanyahu and his agents in the United States insisted upon it. Trump owes them whatever, and so he's done it. They're back, and they're going to tell him the only way this war ends is with the complete and utter destruction of Iran. I would turn that around and warn everyone that if he indeed does proceed, it's not the end of Iran. It'll finish us in the Gulf. That's absolutely certain.
Even America's right-wing influencers who supported Trump, in fact, they were quite instrumental in getting the victory ensured for Donald Trump during the last elections. They now feel that Iran has got an upper hand over the US military. This is Nick Fuentes.
Trump has got to be furious about this. Trump unilaterally stood down on Saturday. Trump is begging Iran for negotiations. And in the midst of this, Iran is now bringing the fight to us, offensively attacking Jordan. Consider the position that Trump is in. Trump has to make a decision, as we've talked about throughout the conflict, whether to escalate to victory, escalate to achieve our strategic objectives, which would entail ground operations on the islands to force the Strait of Hormuz open, to take away Iran's bargaining chip so that we can impose terms on them or extract concessions. That's option number one. Option two is de-escalate and effectively total surrender. Iran imposes their terms on us. We're going to have to move our bases out of the Persian Gulf region. We're going to have to be pushed further away from Iran, our military positions. We may have to unfreeze Iranian assets. We're going to have to let Iran control the strait, formally or de facto. Those are the two options. This is the decision that Trump is faced with. And in the middle of this decision, choosing whether to escalate the military action or de-escalate and leave the region, Iran is provoking Trump, disrespecting him, embarrassing him by attacking the United States and Jordan after we unilaterally stood down, ostensibly as a gesture of goodwill.
It's not clear if human devil Netanyahu's visit to the US will once again lead to more bloodshed in Iran and the wider region. But every time this monster has visited the White House, the region...
I don't want to see Netanyahu at that place. Man, it's over, and I just need to. So there you have it, folks. So this is my 1 hour here. I was just bringing you this so you can know exactly what is your surrounding, and then you can wait. Weekends will bring you more update. But currently, I'm not just going to sit and wait for just local activity, like from back home. If I'm not too strong with that right now because of the conditions, I will be here giving you updates on a lot of activity. So I will let you to please listen to me. And one thing I want you to do, please, I got YouTube. I'm building my YouTube as well. So I always forgetting not to tell people, but I want you to go on YouTube and go to AMEENA TV network. You already know the name. So please do that for me and go to AMEENA TV network on YouTube and go keep watching my videos, subscribe there and like, okay? So I'll be right back. Mama Fulane Kongangla ya timnuga kawe de baga Kongangla ya timnuga kawe de baga Yigra ibeko Kono kona tun sudako Omponom kurugandi ningoroko Repase misa nimbutele Sanzuga mbane sanzga Arkono kola kyo la bola Kafeti atra wede la kokode San solo falla wordo la kera Datum bange TikTok sayele Fu bere zaza ya fu bere zaza ya fu bere bunum 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 bala Fu bere zaza ya fu bere zaza ya fu bere bunum 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 bala. So guys, every good thing must come to an end. So I would like to say thanks to those of you that was on the show watching, and those that will come later and see and watch it behind us. So I would like to tell you thank you. I want you to follow us, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got AMEENA as well. You see name here. Just tap it in and you see AMEENA, and you can subscribe to it and follow our page. It may not be effective right now, but things will be happening here so soon. Okay. So with that regard, I would like to tell you thank you very much for following, and good night.
Welcome to AMEENA.